We are honored to stand here with the family of George Floyd, his brothers and sisters, his children, all his family, his daughter, Gianna. We are very grateful to stand here at this historic moment in the city of Minneapolis. We are very thankful to the leadership of the city of Minneapolis, and I will talk about that momentarily. But we want to start from the beginning. When George Floyd was horrifically killed on May 25th, 2020, it was a watershed moment for America. It was one of the most egregious and shocking documentations of an American citizen being tortured to death by a police officer for having his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. One of the worst ever witnessed in history. And history will judge us for how we responded to this tragedy. History will judge us on our commitment to the principles of equality in response to this tragedy. History will judge us on our commitment to the principles of justice, of how we responded to this tragedy. And most of all, history will judge us on our commitment to our principles of humanity, of how we responded to this tragedy. It's not just historic because of the $27 million paid out, but for the impact on social justice, policy reforms, and police reforms, because the financial compensation most directly impact George Floyd and his family, the future of their family. But it is the policy reforms that affects all of us. And many would say that's why the George Floyd Act, whether it's here in Minneapolis, Mayor Fry, or the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, Councilman Ellison, that is being contemplated in Washington, D.C., it impacts all of us, all of us. And that's why this is so historic and significant.
All right, I want to bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae, who joins us live from Minneapolis tonight. Julia, great to see you. A lot of things happened in the courtroom. We'll speak about that during the course of this show tonight, obviously. But this was a big moment. This was huge. I mean, we talk about criminal justice, civil justice. This concludes that case, but a big number and perhaps a big impact.
This does conclude part of the case, and the timing of it all, when all eyes are on Minneapolis looking for the jury to be seated, now hearing this really important announcement. You see there just the group that was there on that stage. That's not only the family of George Floyd, those representatives, but also the community leaders and the mayor of Minneapolis. They're all together saying that this is the decision and the agreement that they are going to pay, but not just about the payment, but about Minneapolis working toward a different view of their city. We've heard these jurors come in and talk about what the unrest, what the death of George Floyd has meant to the city, but also the optics of how it has been for this city. And you heard the mayor talking about what this should show for the city of Minneapolis and what is important to them going forward.
So 27 million, right? That's going to be the headline that everyone's going to hear about. What do we know about George Floyd's family? He has a daughter, right? He's got a daughter, he and other family members, but my guess is she would be the focus of most of this.
She is the focus. There are a lot of representatives for this family, many of them speaking today about what this settlement is going to be used for. And part of that money is going to be used for an area that we've been talking a lot about. 38th and Chicago Avenue, $500,000 will be allocated for the restoration, the upkeep, and just being given to that part of the community that has seen a lot of unrest. And we've been talking about some of the violence that has been breaking out as we get closer to trial, but it has been transformed into a memorial that is just sprawling across this intersection. And I talked to one of the family members of George Floyd over the weekend while they were there at the square, saying that they're going to be preserving some of these things that have been laid there by people all over the world who have come to this area to pay their respects. They're going to work towards preserving that and putting that into some kind of an exhibit. So when you're seeing right there, you're seeing that footage from today when the family of George Floyd and those attorneys were coming down to the square, seeing just the extent of this memorial that has been protected by the community there in honor of George Floyd.
And this is a very quick settlement, but it was with the City of Minneapolis. How about the police officers who were there, the 4 officers? Have they also been sued civilly here?
We did ask that specific question, what the liability is and what's being resolved with this lawsuit. It does name not only the City of Minneapolis, but also the Minneapolis Police Department, and will include the 4 officers who are defendants in this civil case or respondents in this civil case. So with this settlement, it does include them in their role as police officers.
So it's all wrapped up. So this is happening, again, in the middle of jury selection. And I'm just wondering, did any of this sort of seep into the courtroom, or are we just, I mean, they're so focused on jury selection. Did it come up? Was it raised as an issue by anyone today?
Not mentioned at all during the court proceeding today. They actually wrapped up a little early, and this happened actually when they came back from lunch. So court was going on when this press conference was happening, but it wasn't happening outside of the courthouse. It was several blocks away at the Minneapolis Convention Center, and you did not hear the judge or any of the parties in any way mention the civil lawsuit or the fact that there had been this settlement. But many blocks away, still in Minneapolis, is where this announcement happened. And the timing is something that was addressed by one of the attorneys, Chris Stewart, for the Floyd family. Take a listen.
Why couldn't this wait till after the trial concluded?
Well, justice really doesn't really wait. It happens when it happens, and it happened today. We're not going to delay justice because we're worried about the outcome of a criminal trial that we all pray, what outcome we want.
Attorney Stewart there also saying later that this is actually a way to be more respectful of the process, so that it's not going on while the trial is happening. And sometimes when it's settled at the beginning, he says, can make the process smoother. But it is unusual oftentimes for settlements to happen before the criminal case is done. But that is what we are seeing here.
Fast. The criminal case is very fast as well. And that's probably, my guess, a good thing, all things considered.